Well, I did it. I did it. I played every single game that was nominated for the 2020 Game Awards in April. I usually don't pay attention to the Game Awards every year, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, they're a really cool way to celebrate an industry that brings so many people joy, but whenever they come around, I'm usually uninterested in like half the games they nominate for these categories. I'm usually trying to catch up on games I missed, like God of War, Fallen Order, Red Dead 2, Luigi's Mansion, Spider-Man. Alright, I might have a problem with not finishing games, but that's because life always gets in the way. Until our entire world shut down, and then I finished everything I could. So when new games had a lot of buzz that came out in 2020, I played them because I had nothing else better to do. So when the 2020 Game of the Year nominations came around, I came to the realization that I actually played a lot of the games that were nominated. And I was super excited to see a lot of my favorite games get the recognition they deserved.
The Game of the Year award goes to The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay, I am not going to lie, I was incredibly disappointed with these results. I will totally get into this later, but did they even turn on the other games? It feels like none of these games got an objectively fair shot. So that's what I'm here to do today. But I'm insanely subjective and have really stern opinions about everything. So out of the 6 games, which one was the best? Well, let's rank them from best to worst. Now, none of these games are bad. It's quite the opposite. These games are truly amazing. But which one is the best? Let's start with the weakest out of the bunch. This hurt me so much to put this at the bottom of the list because this game was so good. I had such an amazing time with this game. The hard work and dedication that went along to remaking this classic masterpiece shows. There were really exciting moments within this game. Seeing a lot of the moments reimagined within this sharp, contained 40-hour package was really amazing. The combat was engaging, the reimagined cutscenes were superb, and the time that they put into recreating this giant world of Midgar is really inspiring. I'd played through the original multiple times, and I can say they got this game really right. Now, this is why it's at the bottom of the list. To put it plain and simple, this is not the entire game. Spoiler warning from here on out on Final Fantasy VII. This is the only game I'm going to spoil because it's been out for years, but with a new coat of paint, and it's integral to why it's at the bottom of the list. I mean, honestly, if Final Fantasy VII hasn't been spoiled for you, you must be really new to the internet. So hi! Welcome! Aerith dies, Sheik is Zelda in disguise, and Mario 2 was all just a dream. All caught up? The reason why I'm disappointed that the game is 1/3 of a remake is because it takes aspects out of the game that I loved so much. Aerith dying is so important to the game because not only do you lose a beloved character in your party, but you also lost your healer and makes the entire game completely different. Also, Midgar is super cool and all, but I would have loved to have seen all of that other terrain explored from the original. They could have done so many cool things with the original product, but they just put it in Midgar. Other than that glaring issue, I still think that this remake is really worth your time. Now, what could top a 40-hour emotional roller coaster such as the Final Fantasy VII remake? Well, so I put about 100 hours in Animal Crossing New Horizons, but I knew so many more people who put way more time into this, so I'm going to let them explain to you why this game is so amazing. Haley, how many hours have you put into Animal Crossing?
I believe I'm around 350.
Oh, That is horrifying.
I only kind of liked the game, you know? It's just so calming. The year we had was a little hectic, in case you haven't kept up with the news or anything. It was just a nice escape. I was able to just shut off my brain, be creative if I wanted, or just walk around, talk to some cute little animals, go shopping. It's just a very simple-minded game. It's like what I wish I could do in my everyday life. It's very simple-minded. Like, once you pick up Animal Crossing, even if you've never touched a game before, it's just kind of like, this button does this does this, you move with this, go. Like, anyone could play it. It's physically appealing to watch. Like, I just think it's so creative. It's so simple, yet complex at the same time.
Now, with all of those raving reviews, why is Animal Crossing only number 5? Well, personally, after 100 hours, I kind of felt like I milled around aimlessly trying to find things to do on my island. Even though this game has an insane amount of replay value, I started to really get bored after the credits rolled, and the online was a really big problem in the game. The online never seemed to work. And by the time the new updates were released, which probably should have been in the game from the start, I was already done with the game. I never thought that this game would be my number 1 of 2020, but I sure as hell put a crap ton of hours during lockdown into it, so I guess that's why it's above Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now on to number 4. Holy shit, is this game phenomenal. The gameplay is fast and engaging. The story is so fucking cool. The world is so gritty and expansive. The enemy types are so unique in how you kill them with certain weapons. The difficulty scales with the game, and it never holds your hand. This is how a first-person shooter should be made. This story mode has so much variety because you always have to adapt to your style, to new fights, and even adapting to new terrains. The puzzles within this game never feel boring, and they bring a really greatly needed variety to this game. My only complaint is that the base game is way too short. I beat this game in around 17 hours the first weekend it launched. And while the multiplayer is fun, I found little to no replay value. I know both of the story expansions released, but I'm so far removed from the game, I'm afraid the difficulty will just get the best of me. This next game, I never thought would be this high on the list. I actually started playing this game when IGN announced it as the game of the year. Somehow it just slipped under my radar, and I'm really sad it did. This game was unexpectedly phenomenal. Anyone who doesn't like roguelikes needs to play this game. There are so many things to love about the combat, music, controls, enemy variety, story that is so uniquely deep, and a ton more. The reason why this game is so high is because of 3 major reasons: replayability, game design, and price. This is legitimately endlessly replayable. There are so many different ways you can replay this game with keepsakes, weapons, and ability upgrades. Also, the route that you take will always be different every single time. None of your runs will ever be the same. The second is game design. I never thought in a million years I would enjoy dying in a video game. They took the concept of game design and game architecture and flipped it on its head. Not only does death affect things in the game, but it also affects how you play the game. Death is a reward and a time to really get stronger. Lastly is the price point. Every other game that was nominated for this category was a AAA title. That means to get any of those amazing experiences, you need to cough up $60. But with Hades, it's $25. This definitely plays a factor for me because most games released today almost never have as much polish as Hades does, and they are all priced at $60. Hades is a Game of the Year experience for less than half the price, and that's why Hades is number 3. Yeah, number 2 is going to make me look like an absolute hypocrite. Nice. Alright, I think I have some explaining to do. I tried to find another place on this list for The Last of Us Part 2, but through my second playthrough of the game, it's hard not to see that this game is an absolute powerhouse in storytelling. I don't want to give too much away within this story if you haven't played it, but if you haven't played this game, you are truly doing a disservice to yourself. The story within this game is perfect with all of its perspectives, twists, and turns. The game feels so unique within the action survival horror genre. Usually the plot takes a back seat within these types of games, but Naughty Dog has proven time and time again that it is their top priority. It is incredibly nice to see a wide array of characters and archetypes. Every character feels so specific, complex, and human. The Last of Us Part 2 story exemplifies the old adage of walking a mile in someone's shoes before judging them, and an eye for an eye. The game feels like it was storyboarded like a movie. I also think that is its major problem. I loved my time with this game, but at times I felt so constricted by the story and felt like the game was playing itself. I think the triangle commands are the biggest detriment to this game. The useless puzzles aren't as prevalent in The Last of Us 2 as much as they are in the first one, but there are definitely times I feel like I want to skip action sequences just to get to the rest of the plot. Some of the gameplay feels useless to the rest of the game. Do I agree that the game doesn't deserve Game of the Year? I think it has merit, and other people see this game in a different light than me. Obviously, I didn't put it as my Game of the Year. Yet I think the people who were initially disappointed by this game winning, like me, didn't really give it an honest chance. Should the game win almost every single award they had at the Game Awards last year? No. I think there were a lot of better candidates out there for a ton of these categories. But am I angry or opposed that this game won Game of the Year? No. That's just one person's opinion, and we can all have our own. At the end of the day, this game is engaging, emotional, heartfelt, and Game of the Year quality. Now, even though this game is truly amazing, there is still one game that towers over all of them. The reason why I started writing this video is because I truly believe one game was completely snubbed for Game of the Year. Ghost of Tsushima is an experience I have never had with the game before. This was the last game out of the bunch I had to play to say I played all of the nominees. I wasn't expecting to play a masterpiece. This game is something that lives so intrinsically through the video game art form. I legitimately do not know where to start when it comes with this game. When I began the game, I was incredibly frustrated that the prologue was incredibly vague, trying to push me around from the Battle of Komoda Beach, getting rescued, and trying to save your uncle, all before the opening credits roll. I was defenseless with these actions that were taking place. The game was training me for what's to come. Little did I know after I was set out into a pasture of flowers and saw the title screen that I needed to not only become a samurai, but become the ghost. The open world with its seemingly endless objectives makes you learn how to survive in Tsushima. In my first play session, I spent 13 hours with the game, trying to explore every facet of it. The story of this game makes you feel like you are up against insurmountable odds. The people that you meet along the way feel real and genuine. There are constant stakes to defend the land you and your people call home. the gameplay grows with you, from a simple sword technique to multiple techniques, ancient techniques, and countless stealth weapons. Not once after the prologue did I not feel fully engaged with this epic. There are moments in this game that absolutely took my breath away. I would assume the story would go in one direction and it would pull me in another. I would have to dedicate an entire video to how amazing Ghost of Tsushima is. I would call it an absolute masterpiece in gaming. That's why Ghost of Tsushima is my game of the year. 4 fucking months late!